And thank you for that summary that you just gave. Yes, I agree. We are all basically tending the same line. But I still insist that we should be very careful about the use of semantics. If someone comes to tell you that 3.7 trillion is added to a budget, and the impression Nigerians have today is that there's 3.7 trillion that some people want to steal. And that's just the point I'm making, that we should be very careful about what we are talking about. So to that extent, we're talking about the entirety, like I said, of the budgeting process. And I said that, yes, the budget is not a perfect document. Comments have been made, it's not participatory and all that, and I agree. If we are coming to discuss constituency projects, we'll discuss constituency projects and we'll itemize the things that are wrong. Yeah, points have been made. Why do you carry a project to an agency that has no mandate? Nobody will defend that. And I'm in line with all that. Now, yes, so what do we do? Now, let me say this. We've always recommended in the National Assembly while I was there, and I think a number of groups have also made this point, there needs to be a pre-budget engagement between the government and the National Assembly. This point has been made year in, year out. The lack of that pre-budget engagement is such a big problem. Now, and let me tell you the feeling of most lawmakers. There's this thing we call the 2 versus the 469. And I've always had this argument. There are only 2 members of the executive who are elected, the president and the vice president. And the lawmakers will tell you that we have 360 of us and we have 109 in the Senate and the other in the House. We are the representatives of the people. Why do you come to us, you bring a budget, we have no input, and, you know, at the end of the day, 2 people, of course, you have the retinue of public officials who do the budget, but the fact they always talk about is that we are the representatives of the people. Give us a say. Let us talk about what our people need. Now, that is one. In 2008, I remember, the National Assembly initiated a process. And I remember I was in a team who went around the country to talk about inclusive budget. The country was divided into zones, and representatives came, and reports were, you know, made. Now, whatever became of that, I can't tell. So there has always been this readiness, let us improve the budgeting process. And presiding officer after presiding officer in the National Assembly, I've always had them talking about budget reforms. Even up to the 9th Assembly, there has been all this talk about legislative agenda. And when you go to the issue of appropriations, you see that there are all kinds of aspirations as to trying to improve the budget. So this is a challenge, and we are all in it. So overall budgetary process, yes, everybody agrees, just like we are doing here in this forum today, that there is a need to improve this entire process. So one of the things I've said is that let us look into this issue of pre-budget engagement. Government and the lawmakers, look, these are the things that are wrong over time, just like we are talking here. Now, what do you want to do? How do we do this? And let us reach a common ground. These things are not right. Nigerians are not happy over this. We need to change the tide. And then members will tell you, yes, let us have a way that legitimately and properly projects that are defensible can get into the budget. Now, I think that is just one very serious way that that can be done. And quickly, I can also tell you that I've had this issue of budget law for a long time. The issue comes, somehow it doesn't go on. Maybe this is time to start looking at that. And then this issue of constituency projects, we can overhaul and re-engineer the entire process. Because it's not defensible. Yes, You go to an agency, you don't have this mandate. What is this doing here? And then let me also say this, that part of the engineering of this process is the fact that we need to give enough time to the working of this budget. I know for many years we stayed on this issue, budget will be approved in May, and it was a big problem. Later, I think in the last 2 or so years now, we've been able to achieve that threshold that the budget is approved in December so that you can start implementation as from January. But if you look carefully, you know that there is still pressure somewhere. And when you don't give enough time for this budget to be done, then we begin to now start asking ourselves, the technocratic process, are we really doing it properly? So let us give ample time. I remember that in 2015, when the government of Muhammadu Buhari came, if you remember, the first budget they brought, now where there were issues, duplicated projects, to the extent that if you remember, a presidential aide went to try to withdraw that budget from the Senate, and it caused all kinds of, hyperventilation issues in the media space. So these are some of the issues that we must start gravitating towards, because we all agree that we must make the budget a final document and in line with international best practices. And when the professor was talking, he said it's not just about international best practice. No, I was not saying that we should do wrongs and cover just because we want to defend ourselves in the international space. But the fact remains that we must grapple along with the international community. But the point I was making is, don't tell people outside the country that we have stolen 3.7 trillion from our budget. Because the issue is very clear. In 2016, when we said there was budget, how did it end up? Now we have said this one. You were given space. What happened? So let nobody go with the impression that, someone was defending legislative malfeasance when it comes to budget issues. No. The point we are making is that we must sanitize the entirety of the budget process, but understanding that there's a lot of misinterpretation, misinformation, misjudgment, and all that. And except we get that very clear, we may not go far. Thank you.